Hello everyone, welcome to Manika IES. We are here for the discussion of Interim Budget 2024, which was released on 1st of February, and we shall be discussing about its relevance and its feature. But before we enter into the discussion with respect to the provisions of the budget, I would like to focus on two things. One, what is interim budget? What do you mean when we are saying interim budget? See, हर साल government releases budget on 1st of February, which is the norm, right? And on 31st of January, one day before the budget, we have economic survey. However, this year government has not released economic survey. Why? Because government is going into election this year. So we do have election in April, May. अब अगर इलेक्शन ईयर है तो गवर्नमेंट विल बी चेंज्ड. इट कैन चेंज, इट माइट, इट मे नॉट चेंज. ओके, but we are not certain that who will be the governing members, who will be the member of cabinet, who will be the ministers, who will be the prime minister, what mandate will the government be given. Okay, so अगर ये information नहीं है तो how can the government which is ruling at present, the government which is in power at present, can design a budget, can ask for the expenditures to be spent in next 1 year? They will not be able to. But since our cycle is from March to March, and new government will be elected in the month of July, they will come into the power in the month of July, and the elections will be there in April to May. So for the functioning of the government during this period between March to July, and the government that will be ruling during this time will be interim government. So for them, you need to have a budget. So if the budget is for that small duration, because there can be a change in government, so that budget is referred to as an interim budget, and the government will be referred to as interim government. Okay, because the country has gone into an election. Okay, and during that time somebody is still in power, not because they have been given mandate during that time, because you have to fill the occupancy at that time. Okay, so that is why that government is referred to as interim government, and the budget is referred to as interim budget. Okay, अब इकोनॉमिक सर्वे नहीं निकाला इस साल, जबकि in 2019 election economic survey was released. However, government has released a review report of the economy. Review निकाला है report 10 years का, in which they have given how the government has fared in the past 10 years. So that has been released. So we'll be covering that report as well in the next video. We'll be discussing about this review report as well, but here we'll be discussing about the budget. Okay, now another important thing. So whenever there is budget, you see the newspapers are filled with articles which are related to the budget. What are the provisions, what are the critical analysis. However, when you are appearing for the exam, you must know the relevance of budget. So अगर budget है तो इसके two aspects है. One, which is relevance for a citizen to be aware of certain policy measures. Okay, वो एक as a citizen perspective से important है. But what is the perspective with respect to UPSC? अब UPSC के लिए जो exam लिख रहे हो उसके अंदर क्या relevance है budget का? We need to have clear understanding between the two, because it is on these basis that dependent that where to draw a line, that what to read and what is not to be read. Okay, what is your takeaways from the budget? What should you take away from the budget? So as a commoner, as an individual who is an aware citizen of India, must know government policies, because budget essentially है क्या? Government basically asks for the money for the policies in the next financial year. Okay, एक साल के लिए निकालते हैं अगले साल का budget. That means अगले साल जो भी वो policy measure लेने वाले हैं उनके लिए government they demand money from the fund. Okay, now that is budget, and it reflect the perspective कि will it going to be a capitalist, populist budget है, या डेवलपमेंटल और टुवर्ड्स डेवलपमेंटल बेस्ड बजट है, क्या है. नाउ दैट इज समथिंग विच इज इम्पॉर्टेंट एज अ कॉमनर टू नो कि what are the provision, what are the policy measures. Okay, uska critically analysis, because it is on the basis of that budget that you will decide that the mandate that an individual have given the government by giving his or her precious vote has been fulfilled by the government or not, whether the ruling party, whether the people who are in power have taken the decision that they promised that they will be taking when they'll come to the power. Now that is important for you to know, and that is why if it is such an important document, that if people are unhappy, if the legislatures are unhappy, and if they do not allow the budget bill to get passed, the government falls apart. Okay, and there is new government that has to come in power, because if you are not fulfilling the mandate that has been given to you by the public by giving you their vote, that means you are not the right candidate to be sitting on that particular powerful position. Okay, now अगर आप एक यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट हो, ठीक है, अगर आपने सिविल सर्विसेज एग्जामिनेशन देना है, what are your takeaways from the exam, from the budget? Okay, so budget का तीनों stages के लिए, preliminary exam, mains and interview के लिए, there are different takeaways. So you don't have to deeply dig into the critical analysis part of it. No, that is not something that UPSC will ever ask either in prelims or in mains. Okay, UPSC will never ask you critically analyze the budget which was given in 2024-2025. It will never be asking you these questions, direct questions. You will get sectoral questions and it will not be from the budget as such. Okay, however, when it comes to interview, they might, but the chances are less likelihood, the chances are very little that they'll ask you how do you see the budget. However, that is the only probable area where they can literally seek your opinion. But there also, since you will be a part of government, you cannot go directly against the bill, against the budget. You have to have an inclination and faith in the policy measure which have been taken by the government. So there also it has to be very balanced. It has to be more turning towards the government rather than critically analysis. Okay, so now here we shall be focusing on the things which are important from prelims and mains point of view. Prelims के लिए क्या important है? Prelims के लिए ये important है कि जो schemes mention करी हैं, because वो government की policies है जो अभी चल रही है. Okay, now that is important कि आपको उसके basic features पता हो, but इतनी details के अंदर budget में नहीं लिखा रहता है, ठीक है? और उसके लिए you don't have to wait for the day of the budget कि अब budget आया है, अब हम उसके अंदर schemes लिखी हैं, तब हम उसके notes बनाएंगे. No, now that is something which is there all around the year. वो न्यूज़पेपर में जैसे जैसे स्कीम्स आ रही हैं उसके बेसिस पे डिटेल्स होती है, एंड देयर यू नीड टू नो दी व्हेन हाउ ऑफ द स्कीम. एंड कोई भी अगर आप स्कीम भी कवर करते हो, देन व्हाट आर द हाउ डू यू कवर स्कीम. कोई भी अगर आप स्कीम कवर करते हो, टारगेट क्या है, ठीक है, उसके बाद मिनिस्ट्री कौन सी है, ऑब्जेक्टिव, बस ये एक 3 चीजें होती हैं दैट यू शुड नो कि किसको टारगेट करें, क्या प्रोविजंस है. इसके बियॉन्ड ज़्यादा डिटेल्स रिक्वायर नहीं होता प्रीलिम्स पर्सपेक्टिव से. However, now this budget document is extremely important for your mains examination. How? Because this budget document will provide you tailor-made answers, conclusions and introductions for your questions in your mains exam. How will shall be knowing? बजट के अंदर क्या होता है कि आपको कोई भी सेक्टोरल इंफॉर्मेशन अवेलेबल होती है कि सपोज हेल्थ सेक्टर है तो उसके लिए पता होगा कि कौन कौन सी स्कीम्स गवर्नमेंट ने लॉन्च की है. देन इट ऑल्सो गिव डेटा विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सक्सेस, ठीक है, एंड इफ यू कंबाइन इट विद इकोनॉमिक सर्वे द डेटा विल बी मोर एनरिच्ड, ठीक है. तो उसके अंदर लिखा होगा से आयुष्मान भारत स्कीम है तो उसका रीच कितना है, टारगेट कितना है. देन यू नो दैट वेन एवर देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन विच इज रिलेटेड टू हेल्थ, you have to write down the schemes which are mentioned in the budget. अब steps taken available है, steps का data available है, तो you have your introduction. Other than that, the government ने जो jargons देते हैं budget के अंदर, they are very good introduction and conclusions which can be used in your mains answer writing. So here we shall be discussing with the perspective of its utilization in the exam, the relevance in the exam, but not with respect to the factual data. Factual data you can mug up anytime, but will be I have combined all this in a sector-wise manner, so it will give you a tailor-made answers. You just have to keep them in your notes in your sectors. We shall be seeing how, and then you can write a very beautiful answer in your mains. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. Okay, now this is the very first thing. The government, what is the motto of the government? The motto is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas. Okay, now this can be used in your introductions as well as in your conclusions, and more in mains it can be written in your essays. Okay. Now the first pillar is inclusive development and growth, and here the government has categorically mentioned the schemes that they have taken up in the last 10 years for inclusive development and growth. One is your Har Ghar Jal, electricity for all, and when we are saying inclusive growth, that means you are reaching the poor. Okay, that means you are reaching the last mile. Poorest of the poor के पास अब ये पहुंच रहा है. Then cooking gas for all, free ration to 80 crore people. So if suppose you have any question with respect to inclusive development growth, and you have to enumerate the steps that have been taken, why not enumerate these steps? These are given in your budget, so you don't have to search ki kaun se steps hain. This, just write it, just add this page in your inclusive development notes. You are done with your content, research and development. Okay. Then increase in MSP and see the diversity. It is farmers के लिए, ठीक है, financial services, financial inclusion, ठीक है. Then this is for women inclusion, social inclusion and physical inclusion. So it is covering all the perspective. Now if you see, what is the goal for social justice? That Viksit Bharat by 2047. Now this is an important point if you want to write it in answers. Then what is the, if you have this goal, what is the need to improve people capability and empower them? And focus have been here. The government is referring caste as in there are 4 classes of people. So the government has done the innovation in kind of terms here, ki caste. So the focus should be poor, women, youth and farmers. So next, if you see, then the focus and the questions will be expecting from these areas only. So poverty, women empowerment, youth empowerment and farmers empowerment. Okay, so if you move toward the next, which is your, these are the initiatives which have been taken for poverty. Now if you know, we have recently discussed about multi-dimensional poverty index. Now according to this, 25 crore people have moved out of the poverty. So this is one initiative. Second is PM Jan Dhan, which is direct benefit transfer of 34 lakh crore from the government using accounts, led to savings of 2.7 lakh crore for the government. Now you tell me, if you get any question with respect to direct benefit transfer, पॉवर्टी के लिए तो है ही सारे के सारे, बट अगर डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर के ऊपर, विच इज अ वेरी लाइकलीहुड क्वेश्चन दैट कैन बी आस्क्ड कि प्रॉज एंड कॉन्स ऑफ डीबीटी बहुत बार पूछा भी है गवर्नमेंट यूपीएससी ने मेंस एग्जाम में. लेकिन अगर इफ दे आस्क एंड इफ यू स्टार्ट, इफ यू ऐड दिस डेटा इन योर आंसर, विल यू नॉट गेन हाफ और 1 mark extra? You know, this will enrich your positioning in your exam. Then PM Swanidhi. Now it is credit assistance scheme for street vendors. Okay. Then Janman Yojana, it was recently launched. It is for PVTGs. Then Vishkarma Yojana, end-to-end support to artisans and craftsmen. So look at the diversity, and if you depict the diverse class which have been targeted, that will improve your understanding and presentation in your exam. अगर आप डाइवर्स स्कीम लिखते हो rather than even एक ही क्लास से रिलेटेड स्कीम्स लिखते हो, this will depict to the examiner that you have a very good understanding. So you have a tailor-made steps that have been taken, achievements so far, है ना? And then various schemes for empowerment of Divyangs and transgender people. Then PM Awas Yojana, close to achieving the target of 3 crore houses. 2 crores more houses will be taken up in the next 5 years. So this is your future promises. ठीक है. अब इनिशिएटिव रिगार्डिंग फार्मर के रिगार्डिंग क्या इनिशिएटिव है? पीएम किसान सम्मान that need direct beneficial assistance to 11.8 crore farmers. Fasal Bima Yojana, crop insurance is given to 4 crore farmers. Electronic National Agriculture Market has integrated 1361 mandis and is providing services to. Now ENAM is, you can expect questions surrounding each of three in the separate. Here ENAM, you can expect a direct question on ENAM as well. Then you can also expect question on insurance or safeguarding farmers. So you need to add PM Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay. So अगर हम यूथ की बात करें तो इनिशिएटिव दैट, अब यहाँ पे यूथ के लिए ये एजुकेशन बेस्ड इनिशिएटिव है, नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी PMSD. नाउ इट इज टारगेटिंग क्वालिटी एजुकेशन. ये टीचर्स को फोकस कर रहा है, ये स्टूडेंट्स को फोकस कर रहा है. देन एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में स्किल इंडिया मिशन. नाउ दिस इज अगेन डेटा. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क यू टू रिमेंबर ईच एंड एवरी डेटा, बट इफ यू आर एबल टू रिमेंबर main data like which are very special, like skill India mission mein, then this can be a very good data for your answer writing. So just write it where you are writing with respect to youth empowerment. Okay. PM Mudra Yojana, 43 crore loans has been sanctioned. Another initiative, funds of funds, Startup India, startup credit guarantee. Now these are the schemes for empowering youth as well as entrepreneurship. ठीक है. एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को कैसे प्रमोट कर रहा है गवर्नमेंट? यू कैन हैव अ स्टैंड अलोन क्वेश्चन ऑन दैट एंड यू ऐड दिस डेटा एंड यू कोट budget, interim budget 2024. You quote that data. That will increase the credibility of your arguments. See, अगर आप मेंस में कोई भी आंसर लिख रहे हो, मेंस में आंसर राइटिंग के लिए इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि you first of all you give a very crystal clear argument. And if you are substantiating your arguments with data and examples, that will give you very good marks in your answer. Okay, so if you are substantiating your arguments here with data, that will improve the credibility of your answer, and that will fetch you more marks. Okay. Youth in sports. Again, this can be your standalone question. The highest ever medal tally in Asian Games and Asian Para Games. Chess prodigy we have 80 chess grandmasters. So this is the achievements, this is the growth that India has made. Okay, so you need to know where your country is standing right now, and the budget is a very good document for you to have perspective कि कौन से questions पूछे जा सकते हैं, what are the steps that have been taken, what is the present day achievement, what is the goal forward. And if you are writing all these aspects in your answers, you will get brilliant marks in your mains. Okay, so next in women empowerment, Mudra Yojana loans. 30 crores of loans have been given. Female enrollment in higher education has increased to 28%. In STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics courses, girls and women constitute 43% of enrollment, which is highest in the world. Now this is extremely important. It can be added in your essay, in your GS paper 2, in your GS paper 3, wherever the question regarding to women empowerment has been asked. Then policy measures that have taken for social empowerment. This is educational empowerment, this is social empowerment. They have made triple talaq illegal, reservation of 1/3 of seats. This is political empowerment. 70% of houses under PM Awas Yojana are in rural areas to women as sole and joint owners. Okay. Then if you talk about 38 lakh self-help groups with 9 crore women have been developed so far. Okay, as a result, 1 crore women have become Lakhpati so far, and the government has targeted it to increase from 2 crores to 3 crores. Okay, so this is the government target. Now, this was with respect to various uh, classes of people. You know, there we were targeting people. How here we'll be discussing now about industries. Okay, and the portion forward is important for your GS paper 3. That was important for your GS paper 2 and 3 both, but here it is more relevant for your GS paper 3. Okay. Now, if you see the economy in the past 10 years, there is, as per the government, high growth in terms of the gross domestic product. Okay, and this will be discussing more with respect to economy review. That will be discussing tomorrow. So we'll be discussing about economic review. Then government is focusing equally on more comprehensive GDP, and here with GDP they means governance, development, and performance. Okay. So this is again a new term which has been devised by the government. So you can use it in your answers. It will increase the credibility of your answer. There is a macroeconomic stability. Investments have been increasing. The average real income of people have increased by 50%. This is important. Digital public infrastructure, which is a new factor of production, is instrumental in formalization of economy. Goods and services tax has enabled one nation, one market, one tax. So these are your tax reforms. Strengthening financial sector, help in making saving, credit, and investment more efficient. So these are reforms that have been undertaken for governance and development. And if you talk about global issues, where does India stand in the global issues? Now you see disruption and fragmentation of supply chains. What these are the challenges which were there in the global economy. Supply chains were disrupted specifically after the post-COVID era, and then we have witnessed the war in Ukraine as well as in the Middle East with respect to Israel and the surrounding area of Red Sea. So there is disruption and fragmentation of supply chains. A new world order is emerging after COVID pandemic, and what is this order? Your global economy is witnessing high inflation, high interest rate, low growth, high public debt, low trade growth, and climate challenges. Okay. Now the pandemic again has led to food, fertilizer, fuel, finances crisis. 4F: fuel, fertilizer, finances, and food. So India has done its fair bit with respect to coming out of it, and not only helping India out of it, we have helped the world also out of it. It was India, despite of a pandemic when nobody else was sending its food, India was sending food, exporting it foods as well as the vaccines. So, and as of now, what is India global positioning? As we all know, in a landmark achievement, India had achieved a G20 presidency this year, last year, and India has also suggested the India Middle East European Economic Corridor. Now, what is this corridor? It will be connecting India with your Middle East and with your Europe. So, from Gujarat and Mumbai, there will be a sea route connecting UAE, and from here you will be moving to Saudi Arabia, and then Israel, and then will be moving to Greece. So this is the route, and this route which is dotted will be sea route, and this will be rail route. So this is extremely important. India Middle East Economic Corridor will be set up. So this can be a potential question with your prelims as well as for your mains as well. Okay, and here it is the critical analysis of this portion which is important for your mains exam, but this will be covering in other articles of the newspapers which will be there throughout the year, not in the budget specifically. Okay, budget is the document from which you have to take away important things with respect to your mains. It will give you very good answers for mains. Okay, so that is the main aim of budget. Then you move to what is the India's vision. Okay, what is the government vision with respect to India? So the vision is you have to have Viksit Bharat, as we discussed, by 2047. And what are the pillar of this Viksit Bharat? Prosperous Bharat in harmony with nature, that means sustainable development, with modern infrastructure and providing opportunities for all citizens and all regions to reach to their potential. So sustainable development, all inclusive development is the goal for the government of for the India of 2047. And here the trinity of demography, democracy and diversity, which is backed by Sabka Prayas, has the potential to fulfill the aspirations of every individual, every citizen. So what are the three pillars? Demography. These are the three D's. Okay. Demography, democracy, and diversities. Okay? These are the three D's. And you mentioned this in your answer. This will be a very good argument. Then what is the strategy? So that was the vision. Now this is the strategy. Economic policies that will foster sustained growth, okay, facilitate inclusive sustainable development. These will be the goal forward, and they will be focusing on the principle of reform, perform and transform. Okay, this will how they will be designing the further policies, measures will be taken. And what is the need? They need to have timely and adequate finances, relevant technologies and appropriate training for micro, small, medium enterprises to grow. So the need is to focus on MSMEs. They are your future growth potentials. Regulation should be reoriented to facilitate their growth. As we all know, India is embarking on the path of ease of doing business. We have been able to develop ease to a certain extent, but still there are rules and regulation which are acting as roadblocks. So government here is focusing that they should remove themselves from everywhere, but focus only as a facilitator body. Okay, so not as a regulator but a facilitator. So the focus will be on a facilitator. Now another thing that they need to achieve is energy security, that we are self-sufficient and that we are also producing green energy rather than focusing on the fuel-based energy. So this will be the aim coming forward till 2047. And to meet the investment needs, the government will prepare the financial sector in terms of size, capacity, skill, regulatory framework. So these are the four areas: size, capacity, skills and regulatory framework. Financial sector will be empowered in all these four segments.